Her 9000's Game Room.
Road Rash is a 1991 racing and vehicular combat video game originally developed and published by Electronic Arts. Road Rash was one of the first titles conceived by EA after they made the decision to begin developing video games in-house. Before this, EA had been outsourcing its video game development to external studios, with a primary focus on PC games. Originally they were working on a racing game for the NES, but they soon realised that the NES was not capable of the kind of road scaling effects they wanted to do. There was also a lot of backwards and forwards movement of ideas in the game's early days, with quad runners being suggested at one point as potential racing vehicles before motorbikes were settled on due to one of the game's creators being a fan of motorbikes, and the realisation that bikes give the studio lots of technical advantages. For example, they could put more bikes on screen at any one time than they could cars, and bikers were more visible than car drivers, so there was more room for drivers to be expressive. The game's title originated from the producer Randy Breen reminiscing to those involved in the game's programming about riding his bike in a place called Mulholland Drive, and thinking if you wiped out here you'd get some serious road rash. The game was originally pitched to EA with the title Road Rash on Mulholland Drive, but this was eventually shortened to just Road Rash. Even though the game would go on to be on the Amiga, the Master System, the Game Gear and even the Game Boy, I feel that this game would always be considered a quintessential Megadrive title. It was one of the games from my youth that Megadrive owners would use to lord it over Super Nintendo owners, as it was deemed that it was a more adult game with its violence, and there was nothing on the Super Nintendo quite like it. So when you went, I've been playing Road Rash, there wasn't much that your Super Nintendo loving friends could counter that with. This is actually the second time I've reviewed Road Rash. The first time I reviewed it on YouTube was a very short review about 13 years ago, which I'm almost embarrassed to watch now due to the horrible sound and audio quality. Anyway, back to the game. The object of the game is to try and place highly in a series of motorcycle races throughout California, in order to keep advancing to progressively more difficult races, while engaging in both unarmed and armed combat. The introduction of combat really changed the game, as it made you think far more about the other riders. Not only were they something to try and pass, they were a genuine threat, as you never know when one of them might ride up alongside you and smash you in the face. And, well, if you lose all of your health, then you fall off your bike, which is something that will cost you time, as you have to pick yourself up off the road and run back to your bike before you can continue on with the race. Not only does it give you more to fear, you can also use some dirty tactics of your own, such as kicking a rival into the path of an oncoming car. There's something infinitely satisfying about watching someone who previously smashed you fly through the air before crashing down on the road. The game feels fast and it feels dangerous, and this makes it a heck of a thrilling ride. The interesting thing for me is that you can be as violent or non-violent as you want. You can go around punching everyone off their bike, or you can just race hard and never so much as touch another soul. Gamers had of course previously experienced motorcycle racing in several hit games, such as Sega's own Hang On, but it was this element of violence which helped Road Rash to stand out and make it feel a little more adult. I would argue that it was a massive contributing factor in the game's success, as it made the game stand out from all the other racers back in the day. Another thing that makes this game feel different is the fact that the other racers aren't just faceless opponents hidden behind a crash helmet. Every single one of them has a name that appears below their health bar when you're close to them during a race. Your opponents are also fallible. Occasionally you'll see them make an error of judgment. They'll mistime something and smash into a car or a road sign. Different riders also seem to display different personalities when it comes to dealing with you. Some seem to be very happy to attack you with all they have, whilst others just seem to want to race. To add to this, your competitors actually make appearances between races in the form of an image of their face and some text letting you know what they have to say for themselves. So maybe you'll have Natasha giving you some helpful riding advice, or you'll get one of the thuggish characters like Biff letting you know that he will get you out there during your next race. But it actually feels like how you act in the races has an effect on these characters and how they feel about you. While I was playing this for the purpose of reviewing it, I had Natasha giving me friendly advice, and then after I'd kicked her into a passing car during one of the races, she said something before a following race which was essentially her letting me know that we were through and she wouldn't be watching out for me anymore. I found this to be really neat, and it makes you think of your competitors as more like people than just bits of AI. While static screenshots of Road Rash don't look that impressive, it moves very smoothly, so it looks a lot better when you're seeing it in motion. It's also one of those games that's absolutely full of little touches with great bits of animation when you wipe out or finish a race that just gives the game a great flavour. To add to this, the soundtrack is an absolutely perfect fit for the game's action, and it fits the Megadrive's sound capabilities well. The Megadrive typically has this more industrial mechanical sounding sound chip when compared to the Super Nintendo, so different types of music sort of fit more easily with this machine's constraints, and the type of songs on show here lean more into the Megadrive's particular skill set. When wanting to score Road Rash for this review, something that really struck me is how much fun it is still to pick the game up and play it. It's aged extremely well for a game that is as old as it is. Some older games that were impressive when released just don't look or feel as good now, but Road Rash is just as easy to pick up and as easy to enjoy now as it was then. And that's why I feel the game deserves a good solid 8 out of 10. It's a great game, but there are a few little things it could do with being added to the mix. I suppose that's why I'm so glad that rather than being a one-off, this was the start of a whole series. All in all, Road Rash is something I simply love. I have many happy memories of playing this with my older brother when I was young, and beyond its own sequels, it really was a one-of-a-kind experience. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off saying, keep on gaming.